There is now a Canvas course for the interior design department that has just like resources and updates. Let's see. This one here, I've signed up for it. Just got some information about the college, about instructors, degree programs where you might go after Phoenix College, just any information that you might need about interior design at Phoenix College. Maurice has now put all of that into a Canvas course. So I will put a link to this as an announcement in our class so that you can join this course and you can have all of this great information. So I will post that before the end of class. My other announcement, if you have any assignments besides last week that you've turned in that I have not graded yet, and you're like, why hasn't she graded it? Go look and see if I left a comment at your submission. See if I said anything to you. But if you did turn something in and there is no comment, then come tell me hey, you might have missed this. Can you grade this, please? But I think I'm caught up on grading besides last week's assignment, which is due tonight. So if for some reason it looks like I haven't graded something, go ahead and check and then let me know if there is no comment or anything. But I think I'm caught up. Yeah.
For the past assignment, are we able to turn in the same file each time, just update it with the new items that you're wanting? Or are we supposed to do it in a separate?
You mean if it's specifically for the tiny house?
Yes.
That's fine.
Okay.
If you fix it in your model now and you don't feel like getting rid of all the cabinets and everything like that, that's fine. You can just resubmit it. Yeah, I'll look at it. Are there any other questions about that, or maybe any questions about last week's assignment? What did we do last week? We added more components to our tiny houses. Any questions at all? Okay. Let me mark Chrissy here. Welcome, Chrissy. Thank you.
She was asking tradition said you got
Tradition.
Okay. So then, let's go ahead and get started with this week's assignments. And I probably need to publish the module. Okay, if you refresh, you should see that now. Our reading for this week is going to come from chapter 8. We're going to skip the first part of chapter 8 and come back to it before we finish our final models. So this week we're going to start at the bottom of page 224. Oops, I went way too far. 224, where themes starts. And just a few pages, we're going to take it through the top of page 230, where make an animation of the scene starts. And this is down at the very bottom of this reading assignment, so if you forget what page it's, I've got that down there. So So we are learning about scenes tonight. So scenes are essentially just views in SketchUp that you can save. Basically just kind of take a snapshot of your model at a given angle with whatever properties you have at that time. You can just basically save that, save all of those settings so that you can come back to it later. So, you'll find your scenes in your default tray. There should be a panel labeled scenes. And to create a new scene, you just hit the little plus button that says Add Scene. So two ways you can do it. You could either navigate first to the view that you want of your model. Let's say I'm getting myself nice and situated. I like it right there. Whenever I hit that plus button of adding a scene, it will just go ahead and create that scene for you. Now it's called scene number 1 over here in my scenes panel, and it shows you a little thumbnail. And it looks like it's basically a screenshot of what I'm looking at right here in my model. And so then that has basically saved this view of the model. And you'll see it also, I have a tab now at the top left corner that also says Scene 1. So your scenes are found in 2 different places, either in your default tray over here or in those tabs across the top of the scene, or across the top of the page. So it saved it. Now if I go do something else, I'm looking at the back of my model, and then I'm like, oh, I want to go back to that same view as before. You can either just click on that little tab up in the top left that says your scene 1, and your model is automatically going to take you back to where that snapshot was. Or you can, over in your scenes panel, just double click that guy, and it's also going to take you back to that scene. You can, if you right click on this little scene thumbnail, you have a couple of options to delete the scene or rename the scene or update the scene. We'll talk about updating the scene in just a second. So let's say I wanted to rename this one as maybe front 3D or something like that. And that'll update it to the front 3D, and it also updated here in my tab. You can access those same settings from the tab. If you right click on that tab, you see those same delete, rename, update. There are a couple of other ones here where you can add a new scene from here as well. So whenever you create a scene, it saves more than just the view of the model. It's also saving a lot of different properties that you have, such as your camera settings. So that's just the position, the angle, so the view itself. You can save shadows to your scene. If you hide any geometry, that can stay hidden in this scene, even if it's turned on whenever you navigate away from this scene. Any tags that you have turned on and off, those settings will save. Any sections that you cut, you can make them automatically display when you navigate to a scene. Any of like your edge settings or face settings that we've been playing with. Pretty much anything that you want to change about kind of the style of your view, you can save those different settings per scene. Things that you can not change per scene are actual modeled elements. So you can't create a cube and have it a cube in one scene and a prism in the other scene. It change modeled elements or like colors and texture. Those things can't be changed per scene. But what you could do is use the scenes in conjunction with your tags as kind of like design options. So maybe you have one tag that displays one design where it is the cube and it's maybe orange, and that's in one scene, and then on another scene you turn off that tag and have a different tag visible for some other element. So you can kind of work around those types of things. Let's talk about being able to update a scene. So I saved my scene here of my front 3D, and you can always update it to be something different than what you had originally done. So if this was my original front 3D and I've decided I actually want to come in a little bit closer and maybe navigate myself a little bit more on the top of the view. So maybe I want this to now be my front 3D scene. Once I navigate to that new view, I can right click over here in the scenes and hit update scene. It'll ask me what properties I'm wanting to update. So if I only wanted to change the camera location and keep all of my other settings that you see here, I can just uncheck all of those. And so then updating will not overwrite those things, it would just overwrite the camera location. And so once you decide which properties you want to update, you just hit that update button. And now you'll see in my little thumbnail over here, the scene did change. If I navigate somewhere else, and then I double click back over here, go back to that scene, it did save those new updates.
So just hit camera locate.
Right, unless you have other changes that you want to make.
Ah,
And we can look at some of those other things that can go be different between scenes. Yeah, we can look at some of those now. So one of the things that I mentioned you can change per scene is shadows. So let's say in my front 3D, I'm going to turn on my shadows. So I can do that up in view and check shadows. And so maybe that's my, so now that I've turned on those shadows, I need to update the scene. It's not going to save just because I was kind of already looking at that view and then turn shadows on. Each time you make a change that you want to save in the scene, you have to update the scene. Right now, even though I just turned my shadows on, if I go back to that front 3D, I'm going to double click, my shadows turned off because I didn't save those shadow settings to the scene. Now let's try again. If I go up to view, turn those shadows on, and then go ahead and right click my scene and hit update. I'm just going to update everything, but I could, if I only wanted to change the shadow settings, I could turn off or uncheck all of these other things so that they do not update, and it's only the shadow settings. We can do that. So now that I've done that, let me try and navigate around. I'm going to turn my shadows back off in my model. But if I go back to that front 3D, shadows turn back on because I saved the shadow settings to that scene.
got it.
We can also change the projection type per scene. So we've looked at our different perspective settings where we did parallel projection that gave us more of like the two-dimensional type of view versus just a normal perspective. Let's try adding another one. Let's say I want to look at just a straight top view. I'll go to, let's see here, camera, yes, standard view. So I'm just going to hit a top view here. And I'm going to change my perspective to a parallel projection. And that made it more of that two-dimensional view. And then I'll go ahead and add a new scene maybe for this top plan view. go ahead and rename that guy. Top view. Okay, and maybe I don't want my shadows on for this view. Might be a little bit confusing. I turn those shadows off, so I need to go ahead and update my scene. So I'm going to navigate back to, let's try it in my tabs this time. I can just click my front 3D tab. Those shadows came back on. It's still in that perspective mode. And then if I switch over to my top view, shadows turned off. It's that two-dimensional parallel projection. So you can see how these things are saving per view, and they're not necessarily affecting each other. I can have all of these different things going on with different scenes. With me so far? Okay. Some other things that we might change per scene. Let's look at my tags. Oh, this is a ton of tags in it. Let's say I'm gonna create a new tag, and maybe this tag is for some landscaping. I'm gonna go pull in some landscaping from the 3D warehouse. Let's see what they have. Do they have a tree? They do have a tree. Oh, let's see. Ooh, this nice symbol of a tree. There we are. And this tree I'm going to put on that landscaping tag I just created. So I've got that tag turned on here. Let's go to my front 3D. It's got my shadows and my tree. And let's say in my top view, we can't really see the tree anyway. Let's try it. Maybe I'm going to do a view from back here. And for whatever reason, I don't want that tree to show in this one. So I'm going to turn off my landscaping tag, and then I'm going to create a new scene called maybe back 3D. Alright, so let's go back to my front 3D, my tree is on, my shadows are on. Go to that back 3D. The tree is not turned off because I turned off landscaping for this scene. So you can toggle on and off different tags to save to your scenes as well. Maybe in this back one, I also want to change maybe my edge settings. I'll go to my styles, over to the edit tab, my edge settings. Maybe I want to do the color by axis on this one. Now that I've changed that, I need to update my scene here, so I'll right click and hit update scene. Again, check things that you do or don't want to update, just update all of it. If it asks you about creating a new scene and style, you can make new styles if you want, kind of like those default styles. It doesn't really matter for us right now, just with what we're learning. I just update the scene. Okay, and then if I go back to that front 3D, everything has those black edges on it. Back to my back 3D, those edge settings stayed on. So lots of things that you can be saving, going back and forth between your different scenes, depending on how you want each one to look. So as part of today's assignment, In the assignment, I did kind of add in some of the things that we're talking about here, just as a reference. But your assignment today, we're going to be creating scenes for an overall 3D perspective, all 4 elevations of your tiny house, a first floor plan, a second floor plan, and then a section longitudinal, so going long ways. So let's start to look at how we might create some of those scenes. So we did look at a perspective one so far. Let's look at how we might change our top view here to be, this is kind of like a second floor plan already. But for a floor plan, we usually kind of chop the house at a certain level so that we're not seeing the second floor, we're only seeing the first floor. To do that, I'm gonna get rid of that tree. To do that, it's just like a section, but it's being cut horizontally rather than vertically. So I've got my section tools already up here. I'll click on that section plane. I'll keep it on this blue axis because I want it to be cutting horizontally. And I'll just go ahead and click to place it. I'll call this one my first floor plan. And okay. So now we see that's being cut across the top here. And again, you can just click on that, use your move tool to move that up and down depending on where you want that cut plane to occur. Let's say I'll do my, I don't know if I want those cabinets in there, so I might just cut it right there. And let's see here, I'll go back to my top view real quick. And you see it didn't cut that section from my top view. So let's go ahead and if you double click on a section plane, that'll activate that section plane. So I just double clicked on it and now you can see it's being cut. I can just update that scene. And you'll see that one of the properties is an active section plane. So maybe if that's the only thing that I wanted to change, I would uncheck all these other ones and hit update. Now if I navigate away from that guy and I go back to my top view, that section plane is cut and it stays there. And that can be my first floor plan. Same thing, if we went back to my front 3D view here, even though the section's not cut, you can still see that section plane is there. We can just go back up to our section tools and we'll turn off the display section planes. So now that's not showing anymore. I need to go ahead and update my front 3D scene. Now I'll go back to my top view and back to my 3D view. And now I don't see that section cut at all anymore. So you can definitely be using those section tools to display things that you do or don't want to see. We can create another one here. I'll create another section. So we want a longitudinal section as part of today's assignment as well. So I'm using my arrow keys here, left and right, to go back and forth between those red and green axes. Once I find the axis that I want to stay on, go ahead and click to place that guy. I'll call this one my longitudinal section. So for this one, if I want to relook at the section kind of like this, let's let's see, what we need to do. I want to go ahead and navigate to a view where I'm looking straight on this way. So for that, I'll use my standard views. I've got mine pulled up here already along my top bar. This is for your 3D, top view, front, and sides, back, and also the bottom. You can find those under your view and toolbars and just have checked views, and those will show up for you. You can also find those under camera, standard views, and navigate to those different ones here as well. So for this one, I want to be at the right side. And for me, I want this to be more of like a two-dimensional type of view. So I'm going to go and turn on that parallel projection rather than perspective. You see that turned into more two-dimensional. I do want this section to be cut, but maybe I don't necessarily want to see it. So I can turn off the display section planes. If you want your poche going on or not, you can turn those on and off. And then once I find the view that I want, I can go ahead and create another scene here. And I'll call that one my longitudinal section. And you see, where did I grab this? That second bar I just got down there. If you hit the little arrow, details arrow here over on the right and hit show details, that's where that comes up, and you'll be able to give it a name if you wanted to give it a description. And you can also see which settings that you do or don't want to save per view. Like let's see that you don't want tags to be at all in play whenever you are updating these scenes. You can uncheck that visible tags, and then tags won't have anything to do with these different scenes. So you can choose which properties are saving per scene. Okay, and so let's see if that one worked. I'll go back to my front 3D view now, and my longitudinal section. Yep, that saved just the way that I wanted it. We're also asked to do some elevations. This one would be pretty simple to fix from here. I just don't want to display my section cut, so I'll turn off display section cuts, and now I've suddenly got an elevation. So then I can create a new scene. This new scene is going to be my right elevation section versus, oops, that didn't save for my scene. Turn those off, update my scene. Alright, let's see if it worked that. Yep, worked that time. Does everyone understand what an elevation is? It's basically looking straight at it. Okay, good.
So you only want the elevations of the whole house, not inside it?
Right, we're just working on the outside.
Okay.
You're welcome to create more scenes if you'd like to look at them, but for your assignment, we're looking for an overall 3D perspective, all 4 elevations of the outside of your house, first floor plan, second floor plan, and then that longitudinal section.
So when you say all 4 elevations, right, left, front, back.
Correct.
Were we supposed to put in the windows and doors?
Did I forget to have you do that?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
So I guess that's part of the homework too. We're not gonna get hit for not having it on there.
No,
Okay.
because I
Cause
forgot.
I didn't do it. I didn't do it.
That's okay.
Pretty sure I
What are
would
we
know.
supposed to do?
Add the windows and doors.
I never told you to put windows and doors into your model.
It's okay. That's why I was like, I saw it on there, so I was like, let me ask.
I'll say it would probably be nice
Yeah.
if you want to have windows and doors in your model, but that is completely on me for not telling you to put windows and doors in, so if you turn things in that don't have windows and doors, I'm not gonna count you wrong, but for your own personal portfolio, you probably wanna add some windows
Yeah.
and doors in your tiny house.
I was just wondering when we were gonna, I thought we were keeping it open so we could see through.
No, I just forgot.
Great to know.
Yes.
Question, does it not have a restroom?
I'm sure you already have.
The tiny house?
Yeah.
I think the back room is kind of like the restroom.
Oh. I did that, okay. I had to re-add
There's a little back room.
Oh, yeah.
Slap them in
I
there
just
again.
didn't do it yet because I thought it was something special we were waiting on.
I had no idea, I was like, I'm just gonna add them.
That's cool.
It's right
What was this one?
Any other questions before I let you loose?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me get this recording uploaded and then I'll be around to help you.